Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm all right. What is new?
Not much. What is new with you?
I have been watching entertainment and reading entertainment.
Really? What entertainment have you been watching?
I have been watching, actually, I haven't watched anything recent, but I heard you did. I heard you've been watching television.
Yes, there is a new show on TNT with which involves Steven Spielberg, I think is his executive producer. It's called Falling Skies.
All right, by the way, if you haven't watched the show before, I'm Aya Akhtar,
Rob Borghese.
and
Hello.
this is Killing Time, the show that is dedicated to finding entertainment that doesn't suck. And so we're going to review entertainment, and we're not going to deadpan the whole episode like we were starting off with. So there might be a little bit of intonation of the voice. There might be some interesting stuff, but it's called Falling Skies, and it's on
Falling
TNT.
Skies. It's about the old basic story. Aliens come and try and take over the world, and we have a small resistance that is trying to kind of defeat them or just trying to live, pretty much. It's not like V in the fact that we accepted them. They came hostily first, and now there's very few people left, and they're trying to fight back.
Now, it's a cable show, so how are the production values on this? It sounds like it's going to have a really big budget for it to look good.
It definitely has a pretty good sized budget. I mean, the effects are pretty good. The aliens look pretty good. You know, I'd say it's more on the level of, like you said, a cable TV than a regular TV. It's definitely, looks like they put some money into it. As far as stars, Noah Wiley's in it. A lot of B actors. Moon Bloodgood is in it.
Well, considering that you got some B actors in there, do they pull down the show? I mean, is the storyline strong enough that the actors aren't that important, or is the acting that good?
So far, the storyline is actually pretty good. You have the aliens are kidnapping children and putting these like symbiotic things on their back that's controlling them and using them to do their dirty work. And obviously, these are the kids of some of the people in the resistance, so they're trying to get them back. We really don't know much about the aliens, but you kind of figure stuff out along the way. And I don't know. So far, the story's actually pretty strong.
How far along is the show? Is it like 2-3 weeks in, or is it
Four episodes.
4 episodes? So
Four episodes.
I wonder if
And the
it's
first week was a double episode.
Okay, so it's like 5 hours of video to watch. I assume it's an hour-long show. That's what I just assumed. Is that?
It is, but without commercials, it's 40 minutes.
Do you recommend this show for me to watch?
So far, I recommend giving it a try. You might. I really don't know. Some people like it, and some people hate it because they think, the aliens thing has been done so often.
Yeah, I mean, well, they tried it again. Well, the original V was awesome, and then actually, it wasn't awesome. It's awesome when you're a kid, and the reboot was. Let's not talk about the reboot. But is this a worthy successor to V? Would you think if people who liked V when they were kids?
I think it's. I do say it's better than the V reboot.
Okay, that's good to know. I might try. I don't know if it's online or anywhere, but I'm going to try to find it somehow.
I think it might be online. I think it's somewhere because you can watch the first episode somewhere because they're trying to get people into it. But apparently, it's done pretty good the last few weeks. This time of the year, there's not much for people to watch on TV, so shows like that tend to pick up viewers.
So I have not been watching television because I still don't have. I don't have cable. I don't plan on having cable television, and I have. I don't know what, but I like to read books now. That's right. I read books.
What have you read?
I read the latest book I finished. Well, sort of finished. It was Brock Lesnar's book called Death Clutch, and I'm sure you're aware of Brock Lesnar, the UFC fighter at this point.
Everybody is, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, so if you're looking for a humble, farm boy tale of a guy growing up and beating the odds, this ain't that book. This guy makes no apologies whatsoever for anything he has ever done, and it is really interesting to read this point of view because this is a guy who has achieved a ton of success in his career. He was a poor farm boy, that is true, and his parents were rough on him a bit. Like if he would win, they'd be like, or actually, if he would lose in wrestling, they'd say, "Do you like feeling like that?" And he would say no. He goes, well, then win next week. And they would do it again and again and again. He'd win wrestling tournaments that way. And basically how he motivated himself to become where he was. And then there's very there's not a whole lot on the pro wrestling part of his life. I mean, if for some people they don't even know that Brock Lesnar was a WWE guy, but he talked basically why it's basically a very short chapter is because he was on all kinds of painkillers and vodka, so he doesn't remember half of it. So it's not in the book. He just
so it wasn't a good part of his life.
Right. Apparently he was wrestling with some crazy injuries, and like, I mean, he's picking up the Big Show, who weighs like 500 pounds, legit 500 pounds, with like a torn MCL and busted ribs, and all he's on is on painkillers. So he's just picking them up, throwing them around, and moving it along. But it's an interesting story, and to see somebody try again and again at crazy things, like from amateur wrestling to professional wrestling to being accepted in MMA world. It's actually a pretty good read, but again, you are not going to see a humble character. This is not a humble man. This is not an apologetic anything. It's just like, look, this is what I did. This is how I was. But it's kind of, I like reading stories where look, this guy just basically put his head down and worked his ass off to be really good at something. And it's called Death Clutch because he has some kind of ailment called diverculitis. Do you know how to say that one? Diverculitis. I don't know how to say it, but it's some kind of intestinal disorder, and pretty much it almost killed him twice. So even with that, he still managed to fight. So I'm like, that's pretty interesting. So I recommend the book if you like. It's a quick read. You know, it's not like it's a 500. I mean, I read it on the Kindle, so I don't know how long it really is in paperback.
When did he read it? Before or after he had all the success in the MMA?
He had already won the UFC championship. There's an epilogue where he talks about losing to, I believe it's Cain Velasquez. He's the one who beat Brock Lesnar for the championship.
Yeah.
And basically in the writing, it's maybe about 1 or 2 pages of epilogue, is just seething of, I need to get better. And Cain Velasquez was a better man that day. I'm going to be training. And he was talking about how he was training, and then he got hit again. So he had to have surgery again. So now he's out for like 6 months. So I don't know if he'll come back. A lot of people can't come back from this to fight, of all things. I mean, this is not an ailment that you can just, oh yeah, we'll remove 12 inches of your colon and then go back and fight, because his whole diet changes and everything. But he does talk about winning the championship. He talks about Frank Mir, his genuine dislike of Frank Mir. I mean, I thought it was just all promo stuff. Like, he was just trying to become a heel in the UFC world, and maybe he was trying to get people to buy the pay-per-view. There's really no reason to have it in the book. Like, he just hates Frank Mir.
He just doesn't like him.
He just hates him. I mean, it is there is no like, oh, I respect him, or I think of this of him, or like, oh, he was better than me. He goes, no, I made a rookie mistake. I screwed up, and that guy should never have beat me. And that is what I trained for 13 months, to get back in the ring with him, to kick his ass. And he just keeps talking about it. You could see he really hated him. So that's a good book if you want to read it. I think on Kindle it's like $9, so like it's really cheap. Definitely worth reading for someone like me. I like reading pro wrestling stories. This is not a pro wrestling story; it's a UFC story. Also, yeah, here's a crazy story. When he went out for the Minnesota Vikings, the reason why he got cut was that right before that final training day, he got into a motorcycle accident, crushed his pelvis, and still tried out the next, like 2 or 3 days later.
Wow.
That's why he got cut. Like, because he was busted up. I mean, like, and he still was the last man cut, which was pretty impressive. He's a freak of nature. So if you like that kind of story, that's him. And freaks of nature, or freaks of DC. So DC Universe is getting rebooted.
Yes, I don't know much about it. I just know that they're going back to #1 issues and everything, and pretty much rebooting everyone.
Right. From what I've seen about this, I heard about this news a couple weeks ago, and I looked into it and find out what happens. As far as I know, I'm not sure if there's a crisis level event that resets everything, or if DC Comics is saying we are restarting. What I do know is that basically a lot of the characters are getting revised origin stories. Batman kind of goes. I think Batman is the one that stays the same. There's a great episode of iFanboy where they cover the creative team shifts. There's a lot of creative shakeups, but Batman is not one of the characters that has shakeups. He's going to have the same, pretty much the same creative teams. But Superman gets rebooted. There's an image of him out there with like a T-shirt and work, like jeans and work boots. picking up a car. So I don't know if that's his new costume or what. It from what I can tell, it looks like they're just restarting everything. They're saying, look, we're bogged down. We're going to reinvent characters. And there's even the Savage Hawkman. You know, I don't understand how they keep giving Hawkman a series, but they're trying again.
They keep doing. Well, I think the deal is they had too many titles hanging in the breeze that they didn't want, so they're consolidating a lot of the characters' titles into one.
But no, here's the weird thing. They were only publishing 40-something issues a month. Now they're going up to 52 issues a month. So they're not only they are consolidating certain characters, but they're giving new life to other characters. And man, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's not like their movies outside of Batman are successful. Like, oh, we need readers to pick up our stories. Like, I get why Marvel did the Ultimate Universe back when Spider-Man launched as a movie. But this, I don't quite get. Do you think this is going to be a success, or do you think this is going to be one of those, like, oh, they're going to go backwards again?
No, I don't think they're going to go back, but I think they're going to start a lot of new stuff and end up axing it in a short period of time. Some stuff will be successful, some won't.
I see. The thing is,
I don't think after the poor success of their most recent movies, like Green Lantern, I don't think they're getting new readers that way. So I don't know if this is going to bring new readers into DC Comics.
Oh, that's another thing. I think there's like a question as to who the Green Lantern will be. There's a question as to who the Flash will be. Will it be Barry Allen? Will it be Wally West? Will it be somebody else? Which Green Lantern will there be? Are they going to follow the movie storyline, which changes things a little? I mean, the weird thing is Marvel's gotten pretty bogged down, but they retcon everything. You know, they go, look, that never happened. And they wink at you, and they're like, let's move ahead, right? Like, this never happened.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Every time there's an origin story of Iron Man, like, the war moves forward. It's like, okay, he was in World War II, he was at Vietnam, he was at Korea, he was like, and they move it along, and you're like, okay, well, fine, whatever.
Fine, whatever.
Exactly. Like, we all know it's this. What do you think about this part of comic books in general? We both know, and everyone knows, these are fictional stories about fictional characters that exist in a magical world in the minds of writers, right, and readers. When something happens to them, like, I don't know, the Spider-Man clone saga, or a reboot, or they just shift things, why do people get so angry when things get shaken up? Like, it's not real anyway.
It's the only way to make a character last that long, is you have to shake it up, because you can't have a character who's been around 80 years. It just doesn't work.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, these characters are getting older and older and older. Like, the thing is...
Yeah, so you got to do a reboot to bring them into the now.
Not only the reboot, though. Like, when you shake things up, like Batman, I saw this storyline. I thought this was kind of neat. Batman Incorporated, did you see that storyline?
No.
Okay, so Batman basically deputizes a whole bunch of other Batmen. Okay, like in China and like other countries. He goes around basically creating his own police. All right? Batman Incorporated. Look, that's a pretty cool idea. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that done.
It's a good idea.
But sometimes things like these shakeups, again, they bother the readers. Like, oh, this shouldn't be happening. This is not like it. It's
but in every fan base, there's going to be purists. I mean, think about it in video games, in movies, in fantasy novels, and fantasy movies. There's always people who are purists.
Yeah, I sometimes I just think, look, just enjoy the stories. Like, exactly. I mean, the fact that Watchmen's 12 issues and it's all self-contained, like, there could be more stories, there could be less stories. It doesn't matter. Like, it's all there.
Right.
And now, to switch back to movies, it is time for the return of Sultan of Some Cinema, starring the one and only Robert Borghese. Are you excited?
I'm scared.
Are you ready? There are 3 questions in today's Sultan of Some Cinema. If you're not familiar with the segment, Rob is somewhat of an expert in 80s movies.
I'm off my game. Okay.
Way back. Here's a throwback story. I'm stalling so you can try to call back the stuff. Rob had VHS tapes of like every 80s movie ever. And by VHS tapes, those are those big plastic things that preceded DVDs. Actually preceded Laserdisc too. Let's talk about this scene. Okay, so now I'm going to actually, this is a different kind of question. I'm going to read lines from a scene, and you're going to tell me what movie it is when I stop, okay?
Okay.
Normally it's a quote, but this is like a whole scene, and I thought this was funny. This is the note. Listen, Richard Parker and I stole this money from the company to pay for my sex change operation. What? That's what it says. Now he tells me he loves someone else. I can't live with that, and neither will he. It's got my name written on it. Oh, God. And I can't, that one's got to swear. I mean, it's not bad enough that he's trying to kill me. Now he's trying to turn me into some kind of drag queen. Why couldn't he have just said, you were going to have the operation?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Bernie's is correct. Congratulations.
That's a good.
No, it's gonna.
What kind of host invites you for the weekend and then dies on you?
Okay, that was number one. So congratulations to number one. So you're 1 for 1 now.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
I like that.
Now we all know in the 80s there was a trend of all kinds of movies. They were all silly. They all had these kind of like, what do they call them? The Brat Pack, and that has nothing to do with just one of the guys, which had a guy in it, actually a girl playing a guy. And at the end, they make sure that you know that's a girl. And she kind of does look like Ralph Macchio, which Ralph Macchio starred in The Karate Kid. But the real question for you is, what was the first Cory movie?
The first Cory movie?
Mm-hmm.
Cory.
The first movie where Corey Feldman and Corey Haim were in a movie together.
First Cory movie.
And you're not Googling these, right?
No.
No, okay.
I would never. Was it... If we go back, how old is The Lost Boys?
Is that what you're going for?
I'm just trying to think. Yes. I'd go with The Lost Boys.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. That actually is the first one that starts off a trend of Cory movies, including License to Drive, which I don't know what year that was, but Cory that first one was 87.
License to Drive, and then there was Dream a Little Dream at some point. What else was there?
I don't know, but there's a whole bunch of... Actually, there was that short-lived television show. And speaking of the Corys, the double Corys, our next question, actually, this is going to be a direct question, is about the Goonies. All right? It was actually... here's some trivia that has nothing to do with the actual question, but apparently Corey Haim tried out for the role that Corey Feldman got in that role, in that movie. So here's your question from the Goonies. In the movie The Goonies, Data listens to some music before sliding on a rope. What is that music?
Is it James Bond? Isn't it the James Bond?
It is indeed the James Bond theme. You are 3 for 3. That is the end of the game. That is amazing. Because those were difficult questions. Minus the first one. The first one was kind of silly. But, wow. How the hell did you remember that one?
I don't know.
Do you know what's inscribed on his belt buckle?
Who?
Data.
No idea.
007.
What is it? It is 007. I never noticed.
Yeah, this was part from the IMDb trivia section, and that was really impressive. Once again, you prove why you are the Sultan of some cinema.
Some cinema.
Yeah. So I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Maybe next week we'll do Titan of Television, because I haven't watched TV in forever, so I'm going to get
Sounds good. I'll find some questions. We'll go old school. We'll go 80s. We'll go 80s.
It's like, all you got to do is watch, like, the minisodes on Crackle, that is, and they're like, okay, Silver Spoon questions, go.
Silver Spoon. Family Ties. Nah, Family Ties is too easy for you.
I just watched the entire run of Family Ties, and
I know you did.
We're going through the Cosby Show now. We're at the last season, and what else is running now? Frasier. We're running Frasier all day, every day at my house.
Frasier. We've been watching a lot of Frasier lately, but we don't go in order. We just pick episodes at random.
It was funny because I had set up a recording. I wanted to watch How I Met Your Mother, right? And at the end of it, or Seinfeld, actually it was Seinfeld, and at the end of Seinfeld, there was an episode of Frasier. I was like, oh, I want to watch this. I'm like, wait, I have the DVDs. Like, I have them on my server. I'll just go watch them. I don't need to, like, oh, I missed the episode. I'm missing 2 seasons, though, because there was some contractual dispute that stopped, I think, seasons 8 and 9 from coming out. But that's beyond the point. That does it for this episode of Killing Time. Wow, this is like 2 episodes in a month together. That's insane.
Look at this. Look at us.
Now we're coast to coasting. We'll see everybody whenever, because I make no promises. You make any promises?
No promises.
No
Ever.
promises, people.